Music is everywhere. No matter where you are, music is played everywhere you turn. Pop music, dance anthems, rock, even cheesy pop squeezes its way through our airwaves. But there is one genre of music that you barely hear on radio. Ever heard these tunes?
And I don't spend my time with you, I savor it. I'm too tired to run away. I'll stand and fight. No, everything that I do or that I am, you should care but you don't give it back.
This is the sound of the unsigned and unknown world of music. Every musician and artist out there started their careers playing music independently, without the help of managers, record labels. Just themselves and the music is what helped them become famous. To make it in music as a record-selling artist is virtually impossible. Musicians all over the world dream of making it to the big stage, and very few actually make it. I'm from Chorley in Lancashire, and here there are over 10 bands and artists making music, in the hope of making it big. So imagine every town and city in the world with 10 hopeful artists wanting to become successful. That's including 2.5 million cities for every 10 artists. The answer is 24.5 million musicians with a dream of being the next chart smasher. So it looks very unlikely any of these artists will make it. I became involved with the Unsigned world was all down to my dad. During my childhood, he was heavily involved with the promotion of local Lancashire artists. He introduced me to music that I never expected to hear, and was surprised with the variety and number of artists that he helped kickstart their music careers. Through those years, he put on community music concerts, managed a number of local bands, and has recently written a book about his experience with the Unsigned world.
I got involved with music because I loved it. When you're in love with things, it just takes over, and it did. It was just a passion, it excited me when I was younger, and I found myself at 40 being excited again for the same reason.
With your involvement in band management, who were the bands that you helped?
The first band I managed was Let's Not Lose Mars to the Commies, who were an emo skate punk band from Chorley, who were in their mid to late teens, and they asked me because they trusted me and felt that I could help them achieve gigs out of town and give them some direction, which I did for about a year, and then they decided to go their different ways. Then another band called Pretend Girlfriend, who are an indie guitar rock band from Burnley, who I'd seen before the Commies actually, asked if I'd be interested in helping them, having seen the success I'd had with the Commies, which I did for about 2 or 3 years. And then I formed a collection of musicians called the Digger Movement, and under that banner we try to help promote each other by attending each other's concerts and putting together our own CDs.
You've recently written a book, Unsigned, Unseen. Why did you write it?
I wrote this book for many reasons, but primarily because it was always my intention to write a book after a year of doing music, whatever that led me to. I thought mainly it would be journalism, writing for a fanzine, but it took me off in all sorts of different directions.
Why? What happened in Chorley that you had to write about?
The excitement that was happening around Chorley Community Centre. The young people of Chorley were getting together and putting on music that was exciting, it was new, it was fresh, but nobody was writing about it, and I was being critical about it, and I seemed to be helping them promote it. And I wanted to get into videos, which I thought was the way to go. This is pre-YouTube and MySpace and Facebook, so a lot of it was done by them going into studios, being ripped off very expensive recordings that didn't really cut the mustard when they sent it off to record companies. So I thought if they had a record of the concert, which is far more exciting than anything they put on the CD, it would be visually more of an impact. And people saw that from record companies, so that's the direction I took.
Why do you think it is that hardly anyone, or even no one at all, has written anything about the unheard and unsigned world of music?
I honestly don't know why people don't write about the unsigned music scene, because it's far bigger market than the signed scene. For every signed band artist in the world, there must be tens of thousands who never get there, so there is obviously a bigger market, and it's an international.
His book, Unsigned Unseen, is unique in the way that it can be used as a guide for those artists wanting to become famous. A one-off book, unlike any other of its kind. Also one of a kind is the city of Liverpool, a place I've spent the last year broadcasting local musicians' music on community radio. Liverpool is well known all over the globe for its musical heritage, like the Beatles, Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and recently Rebecca Ferguson. But now the new sound of Liverpool may come from someone like this.
Oh, yes. She has gone off the rails once again. She's so pretty, oh my lord. Her features fit together like a major chord.
Oh, look at what you're doing now. We gotta get through this hell. I was willing to take those vows.
Spoke to me, but I could see behind your eyes you wanted me. What you have to start,
Liam McAlaster is a local Liverpool musician, famous for his acoustic songs. So Liam, what made you become a musician?
I have always had a passion for music. So I played trumpet and piano from an early age, and then got into playing the guitar and really enjoyed it and learning new songs, and then sort of gradually that made me write songs, and then it was kind of a natural progression to try and perform those songs to see what people thought, and I got kind of a good response, so I've just sort of done it since then.
How will you describe your music, e.g. what's your musical target audience or genre and the message that you intend to deliver through the songs?
I hope my songs are emotive and people can connect with them and kind of think about experiences they've had and relate to some of the lyrics. And I think my music is probably best described as pop. I think some people are like reluctant to say pop because it gets sort of bandied around in a negative way, but popular music spans so many genres now. I think I would hope it was pop so it would be successful. I think that's probably the best way to be successful.
You are popular in Liverpool, in the Liverpool area, performing live gigs and playing music on local radio. How do you plan on expanding your music to other cities and attracting more fans?
Well, yeah, I started off in Liverpool, which is really nice, and most of my gigs were here, which is probably a really good grounding, and it was a good experience to practice and meet loads of new musicians, and I still kind of enjoy watching those people play. And then I kind of live sort of equidistant between Liverpool and Manchester, so I can go to Manchester and play a few gigs, which I have been doing. New gigs, every new gig you do, you improve as an artist and you meet new people, and it's always just a positive experience.
Your music is played frequently on KCC Live as part of their work to promote local Liverpool artists. How does that make you feel when you hear your music on the radio as someone who is unsigned?
It's quite amazing, if I'm honest. It never really, you can't really forget the feeling. It's really cool actually to think you put a lot of effort into making something and then it gets showed to people for the first time, or you kind of get quite romantic about who might be listening and things like that. So I really, really enjoy it, and I'm very grateful for the fact that I've been supported by KCC Live.
By your side.
Another music sensation taking Liverpool by storm is Watchtower, Liverpool boy band who are ready to take on the ever-growing music competition that is rock music. Jack McAlaster is lead singer of Watchtower, band formed in Liverpool. Jack, how was it that Watchtower was formed?
Watchtower was formed in 2010, and it started out with myself and our old bass player. Just came out of school and wants to get into a band. He knew a drummer and I knew a guitarist that I used to be in a band with, and then we just got together, adult jamming, and on that night just decided to be a band. I'd class our genre not specifically psychedelic music, but like 60s influenced music.
What methods have you used in the past to help promote your music?
We didn't really use any targets, we just sort of done what everyone else done and just made like a Facebook page and put our music on YouTube and things like that. Just used basically internet promotion and used a few radio outlets as well to promote our music.
You said radio outlets. What kind of radio stations do you promote your music on?
We've promoted it mainly on KCC. It's been in like the top 10 playlist on KCC. We've had it played recently all around the world, like in America and France and China. So it's getting out there this year a lot more, I think.
Sorry, when you were talking about around the world, how did that come about?
We've got a friend that works at KCC. He has got contacts with different radio outlets around the world. I don't know how he does it. I don't know. He just emails a lot of people, but he just always turns around to us and goes, "Guys, you've been played in America, you've been played in China," and it's weird.
And how does that feel for you when you get the news?
It feels good, but it's kind of unbelievable a little bit. I kind of think that he's lying sometimes, but like he genuinely has done it, because he'll send us the link to like the radio show, like the podcast, and it's genuinely being played.
Do you think that more is needed to be done to help independent musicians get their music out?
Yeah, I think there is, to be honest. A lot more local music should be played through radio stations, and I think local music should be given more of an opportunity to be put out there instead of just your general music that you get on charts and stuff. I think that there's a lot more talent in the local music scene than there is in these charts, because mostly all the songs have been wrote for them and all they can do is sing. These people that play in Liverpool, not just Liverpool, like all around the country and the world, they can play instruments, they write their own songs, they've got great voices. I just think it's a shame that they get unrecognised.
I'm not blessed with the patient state of mind. The control has by far crossed the line. When did I need permission to take time beyond your presence?
One of the best ways for all upcoming artists to take part in are local festivals and gigs. Performing live can be a whole new experience for musicians and the key to getting your music heard. Liverpool in the past has been the centre of UK music culture, and various concerts and gigs have been held in the city to represent the local talent the city has to offer. With the help of KCC Live radio station, a series of musical events called the Basement Sessions took place during 6 weeks in the summer of 2013. Here, local artists performed many of their own songs in front of a home crowd, used as an attempt to promote the unsigned and unheard music that Liverpool had to offer. The station manager of KCC Live, Chrissy Farrell, helped organise the events.
Basement Sessions was a series of nights that ran over 5 weeks, and it came about because KCC Live loves to perform local artists and Liverpool artists of all genres, and we wanted to find a way that we could help them develop even more. So even though the radio station supports them in a way of on-air and playlisting and website coverage, we wanted to do something that would help and support live music. We absolutely love live music at KCC Live, and so it was important to us to have a look to see how we could expand on that. So for 5 weeks we hosted a live music event, a free live music event, which had at least 5 artists on each week, and it was great.
How did you find the musicians that took part? Did they approach you or did you approach them?
No, it was a bit of both actually. When we decided on putting Basement Sessions together, the purpose was not about ticket sales or not about making money. The purpose was to provide an opportunity for local artists who might not already have that opportunity available to them. When we were putting the Basement Sessions together, that was our sole purpose. So in order to reach out to these people and to let them know of the opportunity, we had to obviously do a little bit of an advertising campaign and kind of say, this is what we want to do, we're looking for artists. They approached us as word got out, and then we spoke to some people who we knew were brilliant and would really benefit from doing that kind of night.
Apart from Basement, have you been involved in anything else that has helped musicians in the Liverpool area?
Well, of course, I run a station that prides itself on supporting unsigned and local artists. So not only do we support them in a way of sort of putting their music music out on selected shows or things like that, we playlist them. So instead of it just being sort of random or sporadic as to when a Liverpool artist will get played, we make sure that in our rotation a Liverpool artist would get played at least every hour. We try and provide interview opportunities, website coverage, blog coverage, anything that will support and help them build their sort of progression route into the music industry.
Do you plan on organising any other events such as the Basement Session in the future?
Most definitely. It was such a good success. The 5 weeks, we filled the 5 weeks completely with at least 5 artists every week. So there's definitely a demand for that kind of thing. And the audience as well. Every single week there was people from the audience that we never met before. Some of them have never heard of the station. They just sort of seen that this person was going to perform and decided to come along. Some people had never even heard of the artist but trusted the station's judgment of this person must be good. So knowing that there's a demand for it and knowing that so many people benefited from what was relatively a small and easy to put together event, then yeah, I'd definitely like to do more in the future.
Chrissy thrives off Liverpool music. Her passion for helping the unsigned scene is what helps draw in local artists to KCC Live, in the hope of hearing their music played on radio. For some artists, hearing their songs on radio is just a dream, and finding the means to record music in a recording studio can be costly. But with dedication and a go-hard attitude, it can be done. Some artists have connections with the music industry, while others have their own ways and make do with what they have. While attending a music session at my university, I was overwhelmed by one performer local to Warrington, whose performance style and catchy tunes completely wowed me over. I was even more surprised how he had achieved one of the hardest key factors for all musicians, an album and an EP ready for downloading on iTunes. His name is Johnny Lucas, and I wanted to know more about how he acquired the means to record his album and have them ready for downloading, but also how he came about learning the skills he uses in his very unique and exciting performance style. Johnny spends his time touring and away from home, so I caught up with him on the phone.
Hello, Hannah. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. So, Johnny, what made you become a musician?
I bought a guitar, so I decided to learn that, and then went to some gigs, and I was like, gigs are great, and wanted to recreate the sound of a gig. So, yeah, and just love the atmosphere of it, and I've been hooked ever since, really. Just music's been, like, the biggest part of my life.
The past few weeks, you've been busy with touring across the country. You've been involved with the coffee house sessions at numerous universities and promoting your new album. How was that journey for you?
Really, really good. It was fantastic just to get out there and do a bunch of gigs. And I mean, I tell you what, it was absolutely shattering. I think I drank most of the coffee on the coffee house tour. It was so tough. Like, some days we were getting up at like sort of 5:30 in the morning and coming back at 9 p.m. at night.
But was it all worth it, the touring?
Yes, it was. I mean, touring's always worth it, as long as you're playing to new people, which is what I did. It's getting, if you've got songs which are likeable, then the more people you play it to, the better.
You now have a few albums on iTunes. You've got Attention and your brand new one, You Can Start Anywhere. What was it like when you acquired the means to record these albums?
I've got my own studio, so, you know, the past few years I've been building that up and learning how to use. Like, I'm really interested in the production side of things too. They're all self-produced, so being sort of self-contained, I guess, is a really useful thing to have, because it means they don't have to spend money on unreliable producers. But say if they send you your mix back and you're not happy with it, they charge extra to do the changes. So it kind of skipped out that whole dilemma, me just being able to do it myself. So I took my time with it, just recorded everything as I heard it in my head. And then there's companies that deal with distribution. I put that out on iTunes Music. They act as a middleman between, you know, the major sort of web shops, such as like iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and so you can just basically get them to put it on all of those shops.
Your live performances, you use what I called it, it's kind of like a harmony device. What is it and why do you use it?
So I can basically just record whatever I want into it, and it loops around as many times as I like, and then I can build on top of that. So here's a bit of beatboxing for you. Gonna get urban on you. You ready for this? going to bring some bass guitar in now.
It's a loop pedal, and there's like a couple of companies that do them. Basically, when you press it, it records what you're playing, and then when you press it again, it plays back what you've just played. It's a useful way of kind of making a really large sound, but there's only one of you. So I use it to layer up like multiple harmonies, and I do a bit of beatboxing and play bass guitar in. It's getting all these different elements of the arrangement of a song in place so that you can deliver the full song to the audience.
Dreaming, 'cause I've been dreaming. While I'm doing something new. Big ideas are brewing, so I'll see them all through. When I'm dreaming, it's quite a different you. 'Cause I'm lost inside my mind, there's nothing I can't do.
The first time I saw Johnny perform live is one of those moments when I realised how much I enjoyed listening to the unseen and unheard music. It was a performance style I'd never seen before and enjoyed it so much that I was begging for more. When a music lover hears any song, this is the exact reaction that they need to feel if that artist wants to make it big. That unique key is what stands you out among the other 24 million wannabe artists out there. Becoming successful and performing professionally in this day and age is full of competition and various roads for musicians to take. Finding the right road can take you an entire lifetime to find. However, down in London, one determined session drummer found that right path and is now a successful drummer who has performed all over the world. McDonough has played with numerous artists and bands across an array of theatres and concert arenas.
My name is McDonough, I'm a professional drummer. I've been playing since the age of 14, so that's 20 years. I play over the UK and Europe, and have played all over the world.
When did you decide that you wanted to become a professional drummer?
So pretty much, I think, the day that I probably started drumming. It's very odd. I've known from a very early age that I wanted to be a drummer, and it wasn't just a drummer in a band. I wanted to be a session drummer who gets to play different styles with different artists, because musically that's the broadest sort of experience you can get.
How is it that you came about the process of becoming a professional drummer?
My route was that I studied at school. I then started attending to play with the National Youth Jazz Orchestra, who are a big band for kids under 25. I also eventually decided to go to Trinity College of Music, and by that point I was starting to, having got myself out there, I'd been asked to sort of sit in on a few bands here and there, semi-pro orchestras that I was getting paid for. Little bits of very poorly paid but paid work was coming in. And then went to Trinity College of Music, and from there it was a 4-year jazz course, and during the first year there, of course, you inevitably meet lots of other musicians. The difference of me was that I decided to go and just start going through audition processes with the idea that, by the end of the 4 years I'll be a master at audition. And that kind of backfired, but in a good way, in that I went for my very first audition, which was for a North American band or group who were auditioning all over the world for musicians. And they came over to the UK, I auditioned for them, they ended up offering me the job there and then, so that was towards the end of my first year at Trinity. You can't really turn down a world tour, which is what I was offered. But then I went out, moved to Canada, spent the next 4 years literally touring the world with this band called Barrage, and that was an incredible time. So that was my route into becoming professional.
How did you cope with the change of being an unknown musician to playing at sold-out concerts throughout the world?
For me, it didn't really change anything, because I had the desire and the drive there to want to do what I was doing anyway. I mean, in terms of coping, I didn't really feel like I had to cope with anything. I was excited about it. I think the difference was, like I say, ensuring that I did have the professional attitude, because there were, and I was very young at the time, 20, the group we were in, we were all the same sort of age, and inevitably we did a few things which weren't probably the most professional thing to do. Fortunately, we weren't in an environment where we were necessarily going to be kicked out immediately for doing something, whereas now I think that the market is a lot more saturated and there's a hell of a lot more people out there. I think that in terms of coping, I had a bit of a soft entry into that world. Whereas, if you're 20 years old and you're thrown straight into a West End show and you screw something up, you're in trouble. There's people who will, you don't get opportunities like that very often. The most important thing was learning to be professional, understanding what it meant to be professional in my work and dealing with the people who had ultimately hired me and who were paying me.
What advice would you give to other musicians who want to follow in the path that you have taken?
Be aware that it is not all the glamour you think it is at all. It is very hard work. If you think you know what hard work is, you don't until you've gone into it. Be prepared to potentially have not a lot of money. You know, the longer you stick it out, the more proactive you are. You've got to have your hands in a few different pies if you want to make good money. You need to be a very broad musician. You need to be able to play lots of different styles, but authentically. From a band point of view, I've been in a few unsigned bands over time. You soon learn what is a realistic band advert and what isn't. The amount of times you can open a musician's magazine and they're like, drummer wanted, record contract. I guarantee you, if anyone now listen to this goes and opens the back of advertising space, there will be advert after advert saying something along those lines. You've got to decide whether or not you really think anyone who is in a serious position is going to advertise in all those places. The reality is they're not. That's not to say that it's not worth getting involved with, because you do meet a lot of people who are involved in the music industry that way. And of course, at the end of the day, you just don't know where these things might go. But you've got to do it from your heart and your spirit. And if you enjoy doing it, then by all means crack on. But from the unsigned point of view, that is a very, very difficult market, because there are, as you know, thousands of bands out there. Promoters who will take you on 1 or 5 bands in a night. You've got to pull the punters in. It's a hard game.
Matt dreamed big and took risks. His reward is his dream of being a professional session drummer, which he is still passionate about today. No matter who you are or whatever music you listen to, never forget that all artists started in the unsigned world. The fact that they made it shows they had what it takes to face the rest of the competition. If you're an artist and you want to make it like them, never give up. Find that one special key factor you have to make you and your music stand out among the rest. And for all of you who love listening to music, why don't you head down to your local community music festival? Who knows? Those playing could be the next music sensation to take the UK music scene by storm.
We don't see eye to eye, we don't like face to face, we don't walk side by side, but we don't try.
Listen, baby, can't you see? It's the way that you're treating me. You have to set me free.
It keeps telling me to be alive. You know it's confusing through my experience. Can't contain a simple solution. Found the conclusion to all the abusion. Cause I will feel beyond retribution. You're breaking my heart, I want you to know. So hold on tight before I let go.